see you all here. And I'm checking whether we are broadcasting on Facebook, unless Sonal Mataji tells me that we are.
We are.
Alrighty, I'll go by what she says. And so we will get started now. What do you say? Should we?
Sure, Mataji.
All right, so Vaishana Mataji says, so we should get started then. Okay, and for those who are going to watch us online, I'm going to offer my respects to them here. Om Jnanatimarandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Okay, so we are going to do Bhagavad-gita because today morning Vaishana Mataji reached out to me and she said that if you could do Brahma Samhita the next week, and I asked her to check with everybody else who was on the team to see, on the group, to see if they are up for it, and I got quite a few people routing for Bhagavad-gita. And so first I want to know what happened. Why did you guys want to abandon Brahma Samhita? Which which was brought into the curriculum by your demand.
Hare Krishna Mataji, for me, like I was missing the classes, and Brahma Samhita is very higher stair, and Bhagavad Gita I think is the pillar. So if we don't learn anything from Bhagavad Gita, then Brahma Samhita would be a little difficult to understand. So I also wanted to read from, means want to know more from Bhagavad Gita and then go to Brahma Samhita. So I was thinking the same thing.
Okay.
We were doing Bhagavad Gita the whole week, so we were ready for Brahma Samhita on Saturdays. But now that we are not doing any Bhagavad Gita, so
okay. Yeah. Maybe what we can do is, while we are going through this cycle, maybe we could on Saturdays cycle through at least Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe one Bhagavatam. Yeah. Okay. We'll figure that out. Yeah. Okay. So. Right, and then we also have actually a new devotee with us today, and her name is Purti Shetty, and I can see that, see her here, and I'm just going to put the spotlight on her so that all of us can see Purti here, and Purti is joining us today by the mercy of Chitra Mataji. And do we have Chitra Mataji with us here or not yet on the call? Do we? Do
Not
we
yet.
not?
No, Mataji,
Not
not yet.
yet. Okay.
She actually
No problem.
helped me to join, and
See, that's fine.
yeah,
She becomes your mark production guru. There's a term here that we say mark production is one who shows you the way. So those who show you the way can then disappear. She puts you on the right track, and then here you are with us. Okay. So you want to tell us something about yourself, Kursi? Where you are from, and why you are interested in Krishna consciousness and Bhagavad Gita?
sure. So, I think all of us are in California, right now. So I live in Fremont, and I have a 12-year-old daughter, and yeah, I work as a software engineer. So with all the stress in life, and when I was talking to Chitra, she suggested me, why don't you join the classes, this will guide you through. Like, I was more interested in meditating and being calm from, like, I was looking for something. When I was to tell her, then she suggested me, join this would help you. So that is the main motivation. So initially back in India, I lived in Bangalore, so I used to visit ISKCON temple many times. So I do have the book already bought from ISKCON temple long back. But yeah, I try to do it myself, but it's not that easy to understand and get motivated and read throughout, right? So I thought this is a good way to learn Bhagavad Gita and like really understand it.
Very good, very good. And I wanted to add that, by the way, Chitra is here with us on the call, and so meditation is like the medicine, right? So the stress is there, and now you have to meditate primarily now to get rid of the stress, and then later on so that it never appears. And then these classes, Bhagavad Gita and also Srimad Bhagavatam. And I would say that you have a 12-year-old daughter. This will be a good time to introduce her to Bhagavatam. And why I say that, Bhagavatam, although is a big, humongous set of books, it's like a Encyclopedia Britannica, 18 copies of Harry Potter novels, like that. And why I use the word Harry Potter is because Srimad Bhagavatam is full of stories, and they appeal a lot to kids. Bhagavad Gita, on the other hand, is philosophy, so it can get a little bit dry, like that. But we can talk about later. But what I wanted to specify was that these scriptures are going to, they tell us about why the stress is there in the first place. And because of misconceptions, etc., that we have, that leads to stress. And by the way, you're not the only one. And we all go through the stress because of certain reasons. And today is a very nice day that you joined us, because we are going to talk about that as part of Bhagavad Gita. We're picking up a particular verse from the scripture today. So that'll help you. So it's good that you joined us here. And about the audience, who are other devotees, and this is a journey, and we welcome you to the team. We are all in it together, and all of us aim is just one. We want to go back to where Krishna lives, because we are fed up with this material world, and we have understood that there's nothing real in it for us to really run after, right? So what we try to do is to see how we can manage this life while still continuing our spiritual journey, which for you began way back in Bangalore itself, or maybe at the time that you were born in a family that encouraged these kind of things, right? So I will just spend a little bit of time, because devotional service is not about just sitting in one corner, reading the books, memorizing the shlokas. It's about devotee relationships also. There are certain things that nectar of devotion, or not a nectar of instruction, Updeshamrita. So it talks about, there are 6 aspects of, how your devotional service increases, how you can, excel in and accelerate in devotional service. And one of them is to have loving relationships with devotees. And so how can you have a loving relationship with a class of students if you don't know who they are, right? And that's one of the things that, bhakti is about developing love for Krishna. So how can I develop love for Krishna? I don't even see him, right? So you need to know about him. So we'll start first with what we can see. And you see these beautiful devotees, and I'll just request them to go in the order in which they are appearing on my screen, on my participant list. Sometimes it changes depending on who speaks, the list changes. So I see Sukomal Radhe Mataji on the top. After you, Spurti, you have already introduced yourself. So Sukomal Radhe Mataji, tell us also which state you are, which country you are, and so on.
Hare Krishna, my name is Sukomal Radhe, and I'm here in California, also in the Bay Area in San Jose. I've been associated with ISKCON for the last 24 years. I've just come same place and coming every week and doing service, and it's going to be a year since I got initiated. And both my kids were 3 when they joined Krishna consciousness, and it stayed with them. Now they're 27, but they are still very Krishna conscious and very grounded because of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
There you go. Aruni Mataji, are you in a position to talk?
Yeah, I was just unmuting myself.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the group Spurti.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Aruni. I live in the Bay Area as well, in Mountain View, actually very close to the temple, to ISV. I've been, I've been visiting the temples, and very Krishna's been very close to my heart, and I've been familiar with ISKCON for many years. But I've been more closely associated with the temple since 2014. And even more closely, I would say, in the last couple of years, or the last 6 years, actually. No, I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, the temple is so close to my house that I go pretty often. And yeah, I have a child. He's 26. Well, he's grown up now. He's 26. And yeah, that's about it. And yeah, my main thing is I go to the temple. I really like to attend these classes because not only for the knowledge, but also for the association. And it keeps me in touch. So it's really nice.
Thank you, Aruni Mataji. Then we have Meera Mataji.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Welcome, Spruti Mataji. Actually, I moved from Bay Area 3 years ago, and I'm here in Merced. It's a little over 2 hours from Sunnyvale. And now I wish I was closer to the temple, but I came into Krishna. I was aware of Krishna consciousness all for a long time, but I really got interested in Krishna consciousness over 2 years ago. I went to Vrindavan, a friend of mine was there, and when I came back, since I was so far away from the temple, it was, I was wishing I could go there. But with this COVID, the Zoom classes started, and I started listening to ISV, and Shraddha Mataji reached out to me from there, and I just love her classes. And I just realized devotee association is very important. And this is the closest I can have right now to have devotee relationship, devotees association. And I hope to come to temple every now and then. I was there with Aruni Mataji actually a few weeks ago. And it was a big difference being in presence of everybody in the temple. But right now, it is what it is for me. And I'm really enjoying these bhakti classes. And welcome to the group.
Thank you.
And who's sitting next to you? Meera Mataji.
Oh, that's my mom.
Yeah, her mom is also a regular visitor to the classes. I see.
Yeah, she always sits next to me.
Nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay, so, good, very good. So, Sonia, do we have? Yeah, Sonia.
Hare Krishna Mataji, welcome Spurti Mataji. And I came in contact with Krishna consciousness because of mercy of Shraddha Mataji. I received a Bhagavatam set from her, and it was back in 2017, and I was just looking 5 years. So I've been attending the Bhagavatam classes, and because of this pandemic, I've had more association and more Krishna Katha because of the Zoom calls. And I'm in San Diego, but one day I hope I can visit ISV and meet all the devotees. And this Zoom call is my only devotee association, and it's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, Sonia has a sister who's in the Bay Area, and she also joined us on some days. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so Sutapa.
Hare Krishna, Shraddha Mataji. Hare Krishna, Spurti Mataji. Welcome to the group. I don't live in California. I live in East Coast, New Jersey. And like few years back, I came to know about Krishna consciousness, and that time I used to live very close to Shraddha Mataji, and once or twice I went to ISV. But after that, I could not, as I moved from California to here in New Jersey. And like last week, because of the pandemic, we started the Zoom call, and then I'm more interested and I'm more into Krishna consciousness, and we have started reading the books more, and the association of the devotees, they also helped us like more and more. So now I'm really into that path and looking forward to go again and again, more and more deeper into Krishna consciousness. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Varshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Welcome Spurti Mataji to the group. Mataji, I live in India, in Pune, and I came to, actually in 2009, I retired from my material job as a teacher. I left, retired, and thought of buying Bhagavad-gita, and went to the temple and bought Bhagavad-gita and requested at the reception center if somebody can teach me Bhagavad-gita. And very promptly I got the reply, and I got associated with the devotees. There was one Mataji, Satyavati Mataji, who used to teach who teaches Bhagavad Gita. I attended only 2 classes there, 2 or 3 classes, and I had to come to California. And it happened that my daughter's house was hardly a few meters away from the ISKCON temple. And there I met Shraddha Mataji, who really, it was a boon for me to see her, and the way she motivated me to read Bhagavad Gita. And she motivated me in many ways, you see, how to get into Krishna consciousness, how we should have a guru, and how important it is to have a guru. And this is how, you see, when I saw her, I kept, you see, like in Hindi, it is said that maine pallu pakad liya. So I just caught hold of her, you see, and kept following her. And she guided me a lot in life. In 2013, I got initiated in ISKCON temple in California. And then the life carried on. And with this association with all the devotees, my life has changed a lot. What I used to think before is now absolutely, negativity is minus now. I feel if somebody says, like Shraddha Mataji gives the example many a time, so that I have got 2 pens and I want to give you 1 pen, and you refuse me to take the pen. If somebody uses some ill words or some negativity, if I don't want to take it, it remains with the person. So I really got hold of that particular thing and followed in my life. And it has given me a lot of positivity. And I really pray and for you that you have come to this group, and I'm sure you will have positivity in life, you will have peaceful life, and we become some use for you, Mataji. We can do some service towards you. That is my prayer for you. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vaishana Mataji, for the introduction and for the prayers. This is a characteristic of devotees, that they're always thinking about good for others. And we do broadcast, just so that for the full disclosure, we do broadcast this class on Facebook. So just be cognizant of the facts, because sometimes devotees think that this is a closed group and we are talking just here, but it is being broadcast. And on Facebook, as well as my YouTube channel. And on Facebook, which I can see here on my cell phone, I know that Shraddha-devi Dasi is watching also this program from Pune. And also Nam Chintamani Mataji from Australia is also, on the call here. So we have a global coverage. I think we're just waiting for Sadhana Mataji to join us from London. We would have covered everything. So so we used to meet quite often, but I have got some other engagements which are taking up a lot of my time, and I hope to come back to my old rhythm. I'm really missing those, but for now we meet on Saturdays. And then on Sunday mornings, for the brave in USA, we start at 6:30 in the morning and we take one verse from Bhagavad-gita and we learn how to pronounce it in Sanskrit. So in that class, we don't go into the explanations or meanings of that. We just stay on pronouncing the words. And some of the devotees from this group are very interested in learning how to pronounce Sanskrit. So that's why we have those classes. Right? So welcome again, Mataji, and we will get going. So our verse for today is going to be the 27th verse from the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. And I just wanted to, before we go there, I just wanted to kind of like, not abandon Brahma Samhita in totality. And I just wanted to emphasize the fact that yes, some scriptures are difficult, some scriptures are at a higher level. And especially Brahma Samhita becomes even more difficult because it was not translated by Srila Prabhupada, who was writing for American audience, which means simpler English. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's English is very, very difficult. There's a generation difference between Srila Prabhupada and who founded ISKCON and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. So there's a generation gap, and so you see the English is more rich, very difficult to understand also. But nonetheless, let us just share. Let me just share my screen, and if you can confirm that you see that, that'll be great. And if any one of you can tell me.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, good. So we were talking about how this world gets created by Vishnu, and we were talking about the 3 flavors of Vishnu: Mahavishnu, Kshirodakshay Vishnu, and Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And we saw how this universe comes out of the body of Mahavishnu, and then Mahavishnu expands into Garbhodakshay and Kshirodakshay Vishnu and enters into each of the universe. And there are billions of such universes in Krishna's creation. And so we are living in one universe or galaxy, as the science says that, uses that term. And so then we also saw that how inside a universe we have Brahma, we have Vishnu, and we have Mahesh, right? And we saw that how Brahma was created from the right side of Vishnu, and which means the more passionate side and the materialistic side. And then we also saw how Vishnu was created from his left side, which is spiritual side. And we read that how from between the space between his eyebrows, Shiva came out like that, right? And these 3 demigods are, they control the various modes of material nature, Rajas, Sattva, and Tamoguna, right? And we also saw that of these 3, Vishnu, because he comes from the left side, which is the spiritual side, is completely spiritual, whereas the others, they are, when they are in this world, they dally with this material world, they are parts of Krishna, but they are kind of, separated part of Krishna. And just scrolling to the last verse that we did, yes, last time. So here it was, right? So they were saying that thereupon the same personal Godhead, assuming three forms of Vishnu, that is Vishnu, Prajapati, that is Brahma, and Shambhu, that is Mahesh or Shiva, entering into the mundane universe, plays the pastimes of preservation, which is Brahma, creation, which is via Vishnu, and destruction, which is done by Shiva of this world. This pastime is contained in the material world. So this creation and destruction happens in this material world, doesn't happen in the spiritual world. And because it's happening in the material world, it's a perverted thing. And the Supreme Lord, who is the same as Mahavishnu, he prefers to consort or play with the goddess Yoga Nidra, who's an expansion of Radharani. And so that's how he behaves, right? And the others, they dally, they think themselves, Brahma and Shiva think themselves to be separate from Krishna or Vishnu. So they have their own consort, but their consorts are not spiritual in nature. And so we had Brahma's wife, who was given the name Savitri, and then Shiva's wife, we all know as Parvati there, right? So there was also, in the previous verse before that, it said the function of Shambhu in relation to Jivas is that this universe enshrining the mundane egotistic principle has originated from Shambhu. And why I'm spending a little bit of time, associating with Brahma Samhita, going back again into Brahma Samhita, is because I want to connect this with the verse that we are going to pick today. Because if you remember, when I was teaching text 16, I said that what we are talking about in 16 will tie to the verse in Bhagavad-gita, which is 3.27, right? So here, main thing you remember is that the mundane egotistic principle they're talking about, which means this material thing that we have, by which, we think that we are this body, right? That wrong sense of understanding, which we call as the false ego, that I think that I'm this body, that is something that comes from Shiva. So it doesn't mean that Shiva also thinks everything wrong. It just as he controls that part. His job is to control that thing. So I just thought that I will bring this up really quickly so that we know, how to connect that with Bhagavad Gita. So I'm going to now close Brahma Samhita and go to Bhagavad Gita 3.27, and let's go through the verse as we do every week. Okay, so Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Prakriteः क्रियमाणानि गुणे कर्माणि सर्वशः अहंकार विमूढात्मा कर्ताहम् इति मन्यते. Synonyms: Prakriteः, of material nature, kriyamanani, being done, gune, by the mode, karmani, activities, sarvashaha, all kinds of, ahankara vimudha, bewildered by false ego, atma, the spirit soul, karta, doer, aham, I, iti, thus, manyate, thinks. So now going over, just to become a little bit familiar with the Sanskrit, I'm going to ask you to give me the Sanskrit words. So if something is happening by the modes of material nature, what is the term that you're going to use? If something is being done by the modes, by
Gune.
Gune. And what is a doer called?
Karta.
And if somebody is being foolish because of false ego?
Ahankara.
Ahankara vimudha, right? Okay. And if he thinks like that, if he thinks that he's the doer? What is thinking?
Manyate.
Manyate.
Manyate. Right, manyate. And then if work is being done, what do you call that?
Kriyamanani.
Kriyamanani.
Priyamanani.
And if I want to say all kinds, what will I say?
Sarvashaha.
Sarvashaha. Okay, very good. Now let's see, go into the translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Okay, the spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego. So I just wanted to bring the fact that from where is that influence of false ego coming? It is coming from Shambhu that you read in the Brahma Samhita. Okay, and so it's under the influence of false ego. It thinks that he is the doer of the activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. And the three modes of material nature are goodness, passion, and ignorance. In the purport, Prabhupada says that two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness. So what are the two kinds of consciousness you can have?
Krishna
Consciousness and material consciousness.
Material consciousness, very good. So two persons, one in Krishna consciousness, another in material consciousness, working on the same level. This is very important. Working on the same level may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, his bodily and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesh, or the master of the senses of the material body, for due to his long misuse of the senses in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. Hari Om. So just to find our bearings with where we are in this chapter number 3. So chapter number 3 started with Arjuna being completely confused because Krishna was saying that you should do everything for Krishna. And Arjun was saying, that's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I don't want to fight the war. So how are these things different? I'm doing the right thing. The best thing to do is to stop doing whatever you are doing and then go sit up in the Himalayas and then pray to the Lord. So that's what his thinking was. But then Krishna comes in chapter number 3 and he starts to explain things to Arjuna. And he says that no, there are choices that, you should work or not do the work. And he said that among the two, one should work, right? And it is okay as you progress in devotional service to give up its work and maybe even give up your duty. For example, Srila Prabhupada was a married man. And so he had his duty to take care of his wife and take care of his sons. And he did that. And but at a certain point in time, he took sannyas, which means he left his family. And so somebody might say that, oh, he had a wife, why did he leave his wife, right? So as you advance in devotional service, you might give up some of your regular duties in order to take up what is known as a higher cause. And we all would agree, those of you who are watching us here on Facebook, which also includes Sucharya Suzanne Mataji. And by the way, Spurti Mataji Vidyavadu is also welcoming you to the group. And so, so what I was saying was that all of us will agree who are in this group that Srila Prabhupada taking sannyas at that time was an excellent idea, because of that, we are today here sitting and, trying to be Krishna conscious, reading from books that he translated into English. Otherwise, we would have never gotten any of it, right? So it's okay as you advance in devotional service to give up your duties. However, Krishna is telling, not everybody is Srila Prabhupada, right? So what he's saying is that when people are advanced in devotional service, they will still continue to do some of their regular duties. And the reason they continue to do those regular duties is to set an example for others, right? I am advancing in spiritual life, and I might think already be at a space where, at a stage where I think that I'm not the body, I'm the soul. And so I might say, what's the need? I don't have to take a shower. That's fine. I mean, all the yogis and all who go to the Himalayas, do they take a shower every day? They don't, right? But if I start doing that here sitting in California, people might say, people who are not that advanced, people who are still in the bodily concept of life, might just say that, oh, Shraddha Mataji doesn't take a shower, I can also do that, right? So innocent men follow whatever, the advanced people are doing. So it becomes even more important, and it becomes a duty of the advanced people also to behave in the proper way, because they are being watched by others, and not only watched, they are being followed by others. That is even more dangerous, like if you slip. And the classic example of that, Krishna himself comes here to this material world. He has nothing to do with taking a guru, right? He's got nothing to do with taking care of his parents. He's got nothing to do with washing the feet of Brahmana, but he does everything. And the reason he does all that is to set an example for all others to do. And in the previous verses that we were looking at, there was a very interesting word that he said that, so as not to disrupt the minds of the ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of the prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness, right? So if there is a person who is not at a highly advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, who is not asking the question that everyone should ask, and that is, who am I, right? What am I doing here? What is my right destination? Who is Krishna? What is my relationship with Krishna? He's not asking any of those questions, right? But he still prays to Vishnu. Why does he pray to Vishnu? Because Vishnu, I want some money. Lakshmi, I want some money. I want this, I want that. So a person at a higher level, text 26 says, should not stop him from doing that. Let him do, because at least he thinks he has some relationship with Vishnu. The relationship could be that I am the asker and you are the giver, but at least he acknowledges a relationship. Let him do that. However, in your own life, by your example, in front of that person, if you go to pray to Vishnu, then you will be praying not for I want this and I want that. You will be praying that Vishnu, please help all of us fallen souls in going back to Godhead. And so when this person at a lesser stage of advancement in devotional service watches you do that, one day he will also follow you. One day Krishna will give him that intelligence by which he will come to Krishna. So don't go and tell that person that, hey, you, do you know what? This is wrong. Do you know what? You're hovering on a material plane. Do you know what? You're all nonsense. An advanced person does not do that, right? And here in text 27, Krishna is saying that the spirit soul is bewildered. Bewildered means completely do not understand anything that I'm supposed to do. I do not want. And what was the word that was used for the bewildered soul? It was used Vimudha. Mudha means foolish. And when you add the word li before it, then it does an intensifier. It intensified it. You're not a small fool. You're not an ordinary fool. You are a big one. Vimudha Atma. And so
Foolishness. And so we had also talked about foolishness, being foolish and being learned. So a learned person has knowledge. And so what is the right knowledge? Is it that I know calculus, trigonometry, I know economics? What exactly is knowledge? And the real knowledge is to know who's Krishna, who am I, and what is my relationship with Krishna. That is real knowledge. And so the person who is a mura or who is a foolish person will not know this. He is a foolish person, does not know that. Who is a super foolish person? One who knows, but he knows the wrong thing. So he's a Vimuda. So what is a Vimuda? Vimuda is one who thinks I am this body. Now, I'd like all of you to close your eyes, and we'll do this exercise, and you do it all the time, and we love doing it. So we'll do it one more time. And that is, I want to close your eyes, and I will be giving you some instructions to follow. And while you're following those instructions, just listen to me, close your eyes, and do the instructions. All right, everybody has closed their eyes. Fantastic. I want you to touch your nose. Touch your ear. Touch your forehead. Touch your neck. Touch your shoulder. Touch your lips. Touch your cheek. Touch yourself. Touch yourself. Touch yourself. Touch your cheek. Touch yourself. Okay, now open your eyes to the reality. Was it easy?
Yes, Mataji.
That was a good one, Shraddha Mataji.
Touch yourself was not easy.
Touch yourself was not easy.
Touch yourself, I faltered, and then I was looking for my heart.
Yes, same here. And actually, I touched my heart. And I was thinking that we are soul, we are soul.
Yeah, but that was in the mind, right? You had to think of it. So, but when you said it instinctively, for a minute, I was like faltering around my chest, and I thought, okay, it has to be my heart.
Yeah, and I was thinking everywhere in my body, how can I touch?
Yeah, because first I saw Meera touch her shoulders, then her heart.
Yeah, I thought I'll hug myself.
Yeah.
Then it's
Spurti was on her cheek all the time.
Yeah,
because we think that we are the face. That's why the fashion industry is $1 billion industry. Because we think everybody also is their faces, right?
True.
There used to be a serial that I used to watch on television. It was about plastic surgeons doing some surgery to people. And the first question they would ask, and there was this, two surgeons that were trying to tell about their private life. That's what was their serial was all about. But he would go like, so what do you don't like about your face? and the patient would say, well, I don't like my eyebrows. I don't like my nose. I don't like my lips. And then he would say, okay, now for $50,000, I'll do this, do that. Like that. So that's what. So this is Vimhuratma. We don't even know who we are. And that's what Krishna is saying. We are Vimhuratma. But we think we are super intelligent. And here, so in this particular verse, it's saying that Prakriti kriyamanani gunhe karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimhuratma kartaham iti manyate. So he's saying that you don't do anything. Whatever happens, happens by the modes of material nature. Happens to the modes of material nature, it will happen. For example, if you take a young boy and a young girl and you put them in a room, there is a natural attraction between them. Even if they don't want it, the attraction happens. What is it? Because it's the modes of material nature. They work under the rules of material nature. This material nature has been created by Brahma, who controls the mode of passion, creativity, doing things like that, right? So it'll have that effect. If you have a cold shower, then your mind will also calm down a little bit. It's the modes of material nature which are acting here. So everything we do everything that is happening through this body. And by the way, how many bodies do we have?
2.
Gross body and subtle body.
Very good. Gross body and subtle body. And what is the subtle body made up of?
Ether.
Okay.
False ego, intelligence, mind.
Available.
Yes, mind, intelligence, and the false ego, right? Mind, intelligence, and the false ego, right? These three make up the subtle body. Now, so we have two bodies, gross and the subtle. And so whatever we do either to the gross body or to the subtle body. And who are you?
We are soul.
You are the soul, right? So our language, we say my body, and we don't say my soul. Because if you say my soul, this means you're identifying that you are the body and you have the body has a soul. It's not like that. You are the soul, and the soul takes on different kinds of bodies. Purusha prakriti sohi bhunkte prakriti jair guna karanam guna sangasya sad asad yoni janmashu. So he says Purusha. Purusha is the soul. So the soul, when it comes in association with the material nature, prakriti sohi. So the soul has been put into this material nature, prakriti sohi bhunkte prakriti jair guna. So then what it does is it undergoes and enjoys or suffers. Bhunkte, prakriti jair guna, the three modes of the material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. These are enjoyed or suffered by the soul. And how does it do that? In that process of trying to enjoy this material nature, you get different types of bodies. Sat, asad, yoni, janmashu. You will go into different types of wombs to be able to get a different type of body, to be able to enjoy a particular aspect of the nature. Meera Mataji.
So the soul is again very different from subtle body. It's not.
Absolutely.
I was getting confused about subtle body.
No, soul is different. So the material body, gross body that you see, gross is something that you can see. Subtle means that you cannot see it. For example, you can't see your mind. You can see your brains or somebody else's brain if you bash them, but you can't see the intelligence. Like, oh, she's very intelligent. She's got this much of intelligence. Or she's not intelligent. She's only this much intelligent. No, you can't see it, right? And then false ego is the part that makes you think that you are the body. So all these three things are subtle. You cannot see them, and that's still a material body.
So when we die, we are in our subtle body?
Yes, and here's the thing. What exactly is death? What do you think is death? Good topic, right? To talk about
shedding of the gross body.
Shedding of the gross body.
I just before that, can I just ask a question? Like, where does consciousness come in? I mean, consciousness is not the same as the soul, right? So where does it fit in these bodies?
Okay, we'll table that question, but first take Meera's question and I'll answer yours as well, Aruni. Yeah. So
when the soul leaves the body, that is called death, what I understood.
Okay, that's very good. When the soul leaves the body, and what does the soul carry with it when it leaves the body?
It carries mind, intelligence, and false ego.
Very good. And what is one word for that?
Subtle body.
The subtle body.
Subtle body, right? So what is death? The death is that the soul just walks out of the body. Utkramantam stham vapi, says the 15th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Utkramantam means step out, right? Or step in. So the soul either steps into a gross body or steps out of a gross body, right? So stepping into a gross body is conception and then subsequent birth, and stepping out of the gross body is death. So the soul just leaves the gross body, but here's the thing. What it carries with it is the subtle body. And that is the cause of all the trouble. Why? Because in the subtle body, you have got the mind, which is a database of all your desires and all the impressions that you have formed, right? It is that. And intelligence, which is the discriminating factor, which says, this is good, this is bad. Do this, don't do that. So intelligence. And then the worst thing is the false ego, which means whatever gross body you're going to get into, you're going to think that I am this gross body, right? And so Indra was talking about this, and then Brahma said, all right, fine, you want to understand that, and you got a, somehow or the other, Indra becomes a pig. And Indra is the king of heavens. He's the king of all the devtas. Such a powerful position, and a devotee of the Lord also. So he's put into the body of a pig. He starts behaving like a pig. He gets a Mrs. Pig. He has got piglets. 12 years pass by. He's happy there with his family, eating what pigs eat. And Brahma says, it's 12 years, Indra, come back. You have to rule. You're the king of the heavens, come back. He says, I don't want to come back. Why should I come back? False ego can make a Indra think that he's a pig and be happy in that situation. Right? So that is the answer to your question, Meera Mataji. Does it make it clear? Right? So
yes,
goes that, right? Now coming to Aruni Mataji's question, that what exactly is consciousness, right? Consciousness is, so one thing we have to understand is this material nature, which Krishna says in the 7th chapter, where he's defining his material energies. Bhumi apo analo vayu kham mano buddhir evacha ahankara ityamme bhinna prakriti ashtada. So he says that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. 8 of them he counts, and he says that these are my separated or material energies. So this whole material world is made up of these 8 elements. Now, if we are chemistry students and we have understood the periodic tables, the hydrogen, oxygen, this and that, right? They are going down to a more subtle level, more refined level of defining it. But we just say as earth. Earth is something which is gross that you can see, right? You see the dirt. In the dirt, there is carbon, there is hydrogen, there is oxygen, sulfur, everything comes from earth, right? Like that. So we just call it as earth. And earth is what gives the shape to the body. And then there is water. We know we are how many? 79%, 74% of our body is water, right? So there's earth, water, fire, right? There's fire also in our bodies. That's when you eat some food and you put your hand on your stomach, you feel the heat, right? That heat is coming from the fire, which is there in the body. Earth, water, fire, air. There's air also in our body. You see, you belch. And not only that, there are different kinds of air in our body. I mean, we know 2 familiar ones. We belch from this direction, we let out air in the other directions. Those 2 we know for sure. Then there is also air which you yawn. That's also the air coming out of your body, right? Then there are also airs that you just don't see it like that. Of course, air we never see, but you don't sometimes observe. And that is when you blink your eyes, there is air that is pushing the eyelids and puts it down. So there's a special type of air. It's not from outside it's not the outside air that is making you blink, right? Similarly, when a fetus is born, when a child is born, there are airs in the body that push the fetus out, right? So there are different kinds of air also inside the body. So the earth, water, fire, air, and then ether. Ether is like the space, the space between 2 things is, what is called ether. A concept is a bit difficult to understand. But all these are dead. All these are dead matter. Earth is dead, water is dead, fire is dead, by itself, water cannot do anything, cannot even move like that, right? Till the soul enters into it. So I can create a body using earth, water, fire, air, ether. Scientists can do that, or a sculptor can do that, right? You can find out, understand chemistry a little bit more, understand material science a little bit more, understand engineering a little bit more, and you can create a body with the teeth and the nose and the tongue and everything. But you won't be able to make the body move how a child moves. You won't be able to make a statue grow. So it's only when the soul comes inside the body that there is consciousness. Now the body will start feeling. A dead body doesn't feel. So when the soul is there, then the consciousness starts to work. And then it's not only just the feeling of pinching, it's also the feeling of hurt, which is coming from the subtle body, right? All those things will manifest. So consciousness, Aruni Mataji, is a symptom, as the word says, it's a symptom of the soul. And where is the consciousness? The consciousness is all over the body. It's all over the body. Now the question is, where is the soul? Now we generally say that the soul is in the heart region, right? Scriptures will tell you it's in the heart region. However, the soul is very powerful. The soul can move in any part of the body. And actually, Prabhupada again says in Bhagavad-gita purport, so the soul floats in these airs. I was talking about the Vayu or the air. So there's something known as Pran Vayu. So there's airs that are flowing, the five types of air, Pran, Apan, Udan, Saman, like that. The airs are there. They're flowing in the body and they're going in different directions, right? Some up, some down, some this way, some that way. And so the soul is flowing in this air. So where should the soul go? Should it go in the direction Saman Vayu is going? Should it go in the direction Apan Vayu is going? Should Udan, Vayan, which direction does the soul go, right? So it again happens in our real life also, that if there are 5 forces pulling you in 5 different directions, you won't be going in 5 different directions. You will go in the resultant or the sum total of that direction. Wherever the final force is headed, you will go there. So similarly, the soul also can move depending on where the resultant forces are. And that is what the yogis do. The yogis, they do pranayam, right? And they control their breath. And through that process of controlling their breath, they're able to say where the resultant of these 5 is going to be. Should it be in this direction? Should it be in the down direction? Should it be in the up direction? And this way, they're able to lift the soul up all the way and bring it here and then say, okay, now leave this body and get out of it, like that. So, and once the soul leaves the body, Aruni, there is no consciousness in the body. And it's a dead body. You can kick it, you can burn it, you can bury it. No complaints at all from that side. Because the soul, which is the cause of the consciousness of the body, has left, right? So the soul has to, but the soul forgets that I am this body, not this body. And whatever happens in this body, the soul thinks, I am doing it. Kartaham iti manyate, thinks that I am doing that, right? Whereas, okay, before I go there, I see a hand there. Prashana Mataji.
So Mataji, consciousness goes with the soul, and the soul carries the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, so consciousness also goes with it.
Yes, because consciousness is a symptom of the soul. Yes,
symptom but that is why
that's why the fetus is conscious, right? The fetus is always conscious. The consciousness might be less or more, less pronounced or more pronounced, but the consciousness is always there, right? Yeah. And so to think that the fetus doesn't feel anything is wrong. And that's why as soon as the lady comes and tells us that she's pregnant, we start saying, okay, recite the Srimad Bhagavatam because the child in your womb will listen. So we know stories like Arjuna heard how Abhimanyu heard in the womb of his mother. So the fetus is conscious, is hearing, is listening. Right?
Yeah, Parikshit Maharaj saw Krishna.
Right. Krishna there in the womb. And then, I mean, like you see how Khyati's daughter reacts to when she talks to her about prasadam and all that. That's because she was listening to all this when she was in the womb, right? Yeah. So the consciousness is a symptom of the soul and will move from one body to the other body, like that.
So the consciousness is only manifested when the soul is in the body, obviously.
Yes.
Thank you.
The soul's consciousness in the material body will be manifested when it's in the material body. But you also have to remember that soul also has a spiritual body also. So when we go back to Godhead, we will have a spiritual body. And what sort of a body is going to be? It's going to be a human body, a peacock, it's going to be a stone or a pebble or a tree. It doesn't matter in the spiritual world because everything is the same. And it's very difficult for us to comprehend and understand that with our intellect, limited intellect that we have right now, because our intellect is material. And in able to understand certain higher levels, you have to be at that level of intelligence, which is not there in this material world at all. You need some spiritual intelligence to do that. And the good news is that we can get spiritual intelligence. It's not that we are up, there's a bar that, you cannot cross. You can definitely cross. But what I'm just trying to say is that our intelligence is, or our instruments are like that of a kindergarten child, whereas the subject matter is for a PhD student. So we don't understand that. But does a kindergarten student ever become a PhD student? Yes, he does become. So there is hope there for all of us. How do we reach from kindergarten to PhD? Not in the material world, but in the spiritual world, is through doing devotional service to the Lord. So the rules or spiritual world are very, very different. Here it just says that, and there's a very interesting story where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who took sannyas, after taking sannyas, he would just say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So he would just say that. And his other sannyasis, his colleagues, his peers, they would say that, what are you doing? You are a sannyasi. You are supposed to sit down, read the Vedantas, deliberate on them, discuss it with us others. We are the intelligentsia. Discuss it with that. What are you doing, this stupid thing? You're just chanting the names of the Lord. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is nothing but Radha and Krishna incarnated 500 years ago, and he says, my spiritual master said that you are stupid and that you just chant the names of the Lord. And if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can say that he's stupid, what to talk about us? Krishna already said, Ahankara Vimhur Atma. In today's verse, he already said, we are Vimhuras. It's just a matter of accepting it. As soon as we accept that we are stupid, the surrender to Krishna begins. And as soon as you have surrendered to Krishna, then, your life takes a completely different turn like that. Right? So now one might just say that if ahankara vimur atma kartaham iti manyate, and everything is being done by the modes of material nature, then why am I punished? Why is this law of karma? What does that do? What do you think? Why are we punished then? Go punish Prakriti. Go punish Durga. She's managing all that. She's heading that department. Why should I be punished? I don't know. I was just a soul in this body. Why did we? What's wrong? Why am I being punished? What do you think?
Mataji, we have intelligence and we can think what is to be done and what is not to be done. We understand that, and God has blessed us with the intelligence.
But that's not. No, but that is not the point. This verse is saying something even deeper. You are saying that I know what is to be done and what is not to be done, so I will do what is to be done. But here the verse is saying you don't even do anything. It's the modes of material nature that are interacting. A boy looks at a girl, something happens to their bodies. What did I do? Poor soul. Why am I?
So soul is covered by Maya, Mataji.
So Maya is then punishing the innocent souls? That's not fair.
So it's our accumulated karma from previous birth for that.
Well, so let's talk about the first birth then, where there's no accumulated karma.
We have.
It's the false ego, I think.
The 5 senses which are there.
5 senses, all material.
Yeah, all material, and we want to satisfy them. So you see, our desires.
You are there. Now you are there. So you see, we had talked about it. When there is an action, there are causes for an action, right? There's a material cause. Like if you make a chair, there's material cause. There is wood, there is stainless steel, like the nails, right? There's a hammer. But then if you take a wood and a stainless steel and the nails and you take a hammer, the chair doesn't get created by itself, right? So then there is an efficient cause. Somebody has to take the hammer and do it, right? Now, there's a hammer. Why does somebody take a hammer and do it? So you go back to that and see what is known as the original cause. The original cause was the desire, somebody's desire to make a chair. And why did that person want to make a chair? There could be another desire. I want to earn money. Why did he want to earn money? There's another desire. He wants to enjoy something, or he wants to give in charity, whatever he does. So you remember that in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, we will come across that whenever there's an action, there are actually 5 factors that cause an action to happen. The first factor is the soul has to desire, right? There's a soul, there's a body, there's a senses, the action itself, fourth, and then the permission of the Lord. Without the permission and the sanction of the Lord, it will not happen. However, Lord is very lenient. Anything that the soul desires, the Lord will give, right? And you will use your body, your senses, and the act to fulfill that desire. So you are the original mastermind. And even here in this material world, if somebody goes and murders somebody and says that person paid me money to do that, the person who paid the money will also be sentenced because he's the mastermind. So the soul is the mastermind of any actions going on. And why does the soul want? Because there is a desire. So it's not always that you put a girl and a boy together in a room and something happens. It's because those desires are there in the subtle body, recorded from birth after birth after birth. They are recorded there. They are lying there in a dormant stage. And then whenever this atmosphere is suitable, they will raise their ugly head. After all, when it came to Haridas Thakur, there was a lady with him the whole night. Of all the ladies, a beautiful prostitute, making all kinds of gestures and postures in front of him. Did anything happen to him? No. Why? Because the desire to enjoy a lady was not there in him. So an action will start always from a desire. And who desires? Not the eyes, not the, not the legs, not the teeth, not the tongue, right? But because of the soul's desire, right?
So Mataji, soul desires.
Sutapa first. Yeah, Sutapa first.
So Mataji, soul, mastermind, then desire, then the body will coming, and what?
Number one, because of the desire that you have, you are given a suitable body. So when I was speaking from the 13th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, I said, Purusha prakriti stohi bhumte prakriti jair gunar karanam guna sangasya sad asad yoni janmashu. So it says that prakriti, you Purusha, you have been put into this material world because you had a desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. So I've created this whole material world for you. Try to enjoy without me, says Krishna. And you are put here. So this material world, now let's stop here and bring up a topic that might interest Aruni Mataji more, which is painting. She's a wonderful painter. And somebody, we'll add Spurti Mataji also to the group that we have. So there are three, when you look at color, there are three basic colors: red, yellow, and blue. And you combine these three colors and you can get millions of colors, right? A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, in the light theory of light, and of course use white and all those kind of things. But similarly here, these three modes of material nature are like the three basic colors, right? You take these three basic colors and you can use them to paint anything. So the soul is the painter. It paints, right? And this body is the brush with which you paint. And the modes of material nature allow you to make different kinds of paintings. To this, to that. You take a little bit of goodness, you take all goodness, you take goodness and ignorance, you take goodness and passion, you take passion and ignorance, you get different kinds of bodies and different kinds of personalities and different kinds of people, right? And that's what we hear in Bhagavad-gita chapter 18, where it defines who is a Kshatriya, who is a Brahmana, right? Who is a Vaishya. They have different types. They look, and depending on which mode of material nature, and we'll talk more about that in the subsequent chapters, but depending on which mode of material nature is dominant in you, in your personality, you will look at the same thing and you will do different activities with the same thing. With the same thing, right? If you take a knife, and I had taken that example earlier, if you take a knife, a devotee might say that, okay, I'm going to use this knife to chop vegetables to make prasadam, right? A butcher might say, I'm going to, make nice carvings of turkey or animals or, all the obnoxious things, right? And a Kshatriya might say, okay, I'm going to use this to kill the enemy. It's the same thing. But depending on, how much, what your desires are, what your personality is, then you go there, right? So we have to remember this thing that although we are not the doer, you cannot get away and say, okay, I murdered, and then Bhagavad-gita, quote Bhagavad-gita in the court and say that, Bhagavad-gita said. Karanam guna sangasya. Sadas, that I was not prakriti, ahankara vimhudatma karta hamiti manyate. I'm a stupid fool, I'm thinking, but judge, you are the learned man. You should understand the soul doesn't do anything. It's not going to happen. You will go into jail or maybe to the gallows, right? So depending on what we desire, we get a suitable body. And in that body, we do good and bad things and accumulate karma more and more and more and more and more, like that. Varshana Mataji also had a question. And I'll take that as the last question of the day because I have somewhere to go. Yeah.
No, Mataji, I don't have any question.
Okay, you were saying something. Okay, I thought you were saying something. Okay. Anything else that we should, yeah, go ahead. So, well, we have a minute, so maybe I'll speak a little bit more. So we have, so you notice that as you evolve in spiritual consciousness, you will see that, and I'd like to welcome my godbrother, Ramakrishna Veeravalli. So happy to see you here, brother. So as you evolve in your spiritual life, this thing of karta aham, I did it, right? And this me and mine is always there. And ladies usually come and say that, when the daughter does something wrong, the father will come and tell the mother, your daughter did this. And when the daughter comes out with flying colors, the father will say, my daughter, right? So it extends. These things just extend a little further. So as you evolve, then you start to understand that whatever is happening by the modes of material nature. And it's the will of the Lord that because of that, these things are happening to you. And you never take credit for anything. And most of the times, all our endeavors are for getting credit, whether it is at home, whether it is in at work. And all of us get so angry when, I did all the work and my manager went and told upstairs, up the ladder, up the hierarchy that he did everything. And we get agitated and we get stressed out. And the reason of being stressed out, Purti Mataji, is because of this false ego, because we think we are the doers. And because we think we are the doers, we expect that we should get, the result should be under our control. Karmaneva dhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. And Krishna says that you have, you can perform your duty. You are supposed to perform your duty, but on the rights, you have no rights on the results of the duty, 2.47. And we keep on because of the false idea that I am the doer, so I should get that controllership is in us. But Brahma Samhita, first verse of Brahma Samhita said, Ishvara Parma Krishna. That Krishna is the supreme controller. You are just a small controller. You can only control this much. What can we control? We can't even control a call of nature. You have to rush to the bathroom when you have to. So that, my dear, is the sorry state of affair of us controllers, right? What can we control? Nothing. Try controlling your mind. Arjuna, the Mahabahu, said, it's difficult to control the air. When he used to pull out an arrow from his back, put it on his, bow, and then twang, release it. It was so swift. The three actions were so swift that people could not even distinguish between when it happened. Within the blink of an eye, all the three actions happened and the enemy was killed. Like that, right? So he was so fast. And so he says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balva dirham, right? Tasyaham nigraham manne vayu eva sudushkaram. So he says that this mind is so chanchal, to conquer it is so difficult as trying to conquer wind. Can you conquer the wind? Can you stop? You can't, right? And so the process of meditation helps you to control your mind. But before that, you should understand, why is the mind going in this and that and that and that direction? Because we think we are the body and we are in different modes of nature. And these different modes of nature can be very prominent, right? And the interesting thing is that as we progress through the ages, Kali Yuga, Satyuga, Dwapar, and so on and so forth, right? There are contractions that happens, things contract. And what I mean by that, what I mean by things contracting is that the size of people contract. People in Kali Yuga are much bigger in size. Geologists tell you that the earth is also shrinking in size. And that is why when you hear that in Braja, which is now in UP, Krishna used to live with 1 billion cows. And you might just say, oh, it's such a small place. How could 1 billion cows live in there? It's because things shrink and they become small as they grow, right? So things happen differently. In the earlier yugas, like Satyuga, etc., there was a lot of space. So some type of people were in the heavenly planetary systems, the demigods, and the lesser were somewhere in the middle, and the worst ones were lower there. But as the yugas progressed, then things start to happen in the same country, right? Or in the same planet, in the same country, in the same family, like that. For example, you take war. So the demigods used to fight, the asuras used to fight the asuras. The demigods used to fight with the demons. The demigods in one planetary system, demigods in another planetary system, very separated out, right? Then after that, what happened? Sri Lanka and India, Ramchandra, and who was that? Ravana. They are fighting, right? Different countries. Then they fight within the country, within a family, Pandavas and Kauravas. And now, in this yuga, all three of them are inside us. For example, if you look at Ravana's family, Ravana, mode of passion, right? Sees any beautiful woman, wants her, right? That's why, what was the need for him? He was a Brahmana, he was very learned. What was the need for him to carry away the beautiful wife of somebody else? Mode of passion, right? Then in the same family, there's somebody in mode of ignorance. Who is that? Mode of ignorance means sleeping all the time. That's a big hint. Tell me. In Ravana's family. There you see, right? So you see mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and there's mode of goodness also. Who's in the mode of goodness?
Vibhishan.
Right? So you see, so all the three modes are found in a family, but that was a previous age. In this age, all the three modes, Ravana, Vibhishan, and Kumbhakarna are inside us. And you know, how will you see them? You sit down and chant, and all three will come out. When your mind goes here and there. When you pick up the japa, a japa is a very good way to go to sleep, right? You take up your big bats, then you want to go to sleep, right? The mode of ignorance comes out. Your thoughts go here and there. Passion, I have to do this, I have to do that. My bathroom is leaking. I want that promotion. I want this. He said that, he did that. All those come. And then suddenly, no, I should be focusing on Krishna. Okay, let me calm down. Let me meditate. Mode of goodness. Like that. Okay, so think about these three modes of nature. Think about and deliberate about and start acting and take the help of Krishna that I am the soul and I'm not the body. Okay, so on that note, I'll take your leave.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Mataji,
so
for
much.
wonderful
Thank you
class,
so
Mataji.
much.
After so many days.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, Sulekha Mataji is also here. Thank you so much for joining this call from all parts of the world on the Facebook as well as over here. It's good to see you all. Enjoy and remember, you are the soul and you're not the body. Hare Krishna.